Let's do some demonstration here. What I want to do is implement an HTTP server, and I want to implement an FTP server on Windows PCs. So we don't need any special software to do this. Everything that we need is built in or easily downloadable for free. Effectively, what I'm going to do here is just what we saw earlier. I'm going to set up an FTP server and an HTTP server on these two devices. And right now, the machine that I'm currently working on, 10.0.0.10, that's going to serve as my client for this discussion. And another device, 10.0.0.80, is going to be my server. So 10.0.0.10 is going to have a black desktop background. 10.0.0.80 is going to have a green background. Right now, I'm working on my workstation at 10.0.0.80, and this is the device that I want to turn on the HTTP server to get our demonstration started. So if I do an IP config here, we'll see that this is device 10.0.0.80, and I'm able to ping 10.0.0.10. A side note, I do have the firewalls turned off, the Windows firewalls turned off on both of my workstations. I don't want to add in extra complexity at this point. I really want us to understand how these protocols work. Later on, if you're interested, you can turn on those firewalls and see if you can get the traffic to work through it. But for the time being, that just adds a layer of complexity to understanding what's actually happening here. My goal is for you to see that a lot of this stuff is very, very simple. It just interacts with lots of things in a complex way. I'm going to close my command prompt. The way I go about turning on IIS is I'm going to do a search here in Windows. Windows has made it impressively difficult to find settings in the control panel, at least for me. So I'm just going to search for Windows features, and it pops up with turn Windows features on or off. So we'll select that. It's going to pull up this list of features that are on Windows. One of them that I want to turn on here is IIS, Internet Information Services. So I'm going to check that box. If I open it up, if I click the plus sign next to that and open it up, we'll see that there is an FTP server option in here. I'm going to leave that unchecked for now. That's challenging to set up relative to other FTP servers I can turn on here. The other things that are turned on here, just leave those by default. We'll hit OK. Windows is going to set all that up. It won't even require a reboot. So our web server is now installed and theoretically turned on. Well, how would I know? Well, first of all, if this is a server and it's a web server, it's going to be listening on port 80. So what I can do is I can use my netstat command, -ANO, and hit enter, and it'll show me what ports my computer is listening on. If I go up to the top here, I'll see that I'm listening on TCP port 80, which is my web server. Excellent. Well, on this web server, I have a web page. So if I go open up my Explorer, I can find that web page and see what it is that I'm going to be looking at. I can even modify that web page. To find that, I go to my C drive, my local disk. There's a folder on there called inetpub. If I open that up, it'll bring me to another set of folders, and I want to go to www root, or the World Wide Web root. Here, this is where our web page is. It's the IIS start web page. This is the default one that comes installed with IIS. If I double click that and open it with Chrome, we'll see that it looks like this. It says Internet Information Service and then welcome in a whole bunch of different languages. So let's close that window. Let's see if I can access that file now from my other workstation using my web client software. So right now my server here is listening on port 80, and I have this file here, IIS start, that's going to be my web page. So let me move back to my other workstation. I'm at my workstation now with the black background. This is the workstation at 10.0.0.10. Let's open up Google Chrome, and I'm going to browse to 10.0.0.80. And when I go there, I get my website, the same website that I saw when I looked at the inetpub folder on my web server. So if you want, you can change the web page that's displayed here by changing that IIS start file over in the web server. You can add files on here. You You can add pictures on here, right? You can create your own website if you want to dive into that. Now, this is not a course in how to manage a web server, but I do want to show you how to turn one on so that in the next course, when we're trying to build an access control list to filter traffic, we at least have some type of service that we can put on a device to filter traffic to and from.